everyone, I hope you're all doing well. So I am here in front of my bookshelves with my kind of book video. I try to do this monthly where I talk about the books I read for the previous month and what I'm planning to read in the current month. I haven't done one of these in a while, so what I decided to do for this video is I'm going to show you or talk about the books, or I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks as well, but the books I've read for the past 2 months, so for July and August. Yeah, and I don't really have, for September, I have what I'm currently listening to, but I don't really have like specific books that I want to read this month, and the month's almost over. So I'm just going to talk about the books that I have read and what I'm currently listening to. So I'll get into it. So to start with, this was one I talked about in my last book video, but I did finish this in July. This is The Time Traveler's Wife by Audrey Niffenegger. I think that's how you say her name. I really like this. I've watched the movie. I have the movie. I got the book a long time ago when the movie came out, but I never read the book before I watched the movie, so then the book was just sitting on my shelf. But I really like this. So it tells the story of Claire and Henry, and Claire lives in a normal, typical timeline, and then Henry time travels and he meets like Claire at different times in her life. So she knows him before he meets her in his current timeline, if that makes sense. So it just kind of tells the story of their like love story. So I really, really like this as a book. I think it worked really effectively. I'm gonna have to rewatch the movie. I do have it on DVD because I remember I must have liked the movie enough to get it, to buy the DVD, but the book I think is so much better than the movie. So I'll have to rewatch the movie and just kind of see what I think about it in comparison to the book, but the book was really good. So definitely if you like books that, you know, follow like a relationship across like time, or like, you know, you can see the relationship from the beginning to as they get older, this one was really great for that. So I did really enjoy this. And then another sort of, this one isn't time travel book, but I guess it's maybe similar, I don't know. But this is a book by Liane Moriarty, which I've talked about this author before. I really, really love this author. But this book is What Alice Forgot. And this I finished in July. This I took with me when I went to Spain, and I read it when I was there. You know, like on the plane, we just had a lot of like travel time to and from places. We went to a lot of cities, so we had a bus, like a coach, so I could read on the coach. And I use like C-band. They're like these wristbands that put pressure on your wrist, so it helps with car sickness. So I can actually like read. If it's like a coach, I feel like you're less car sick, and if you're not like going through like windy roads, if you're just like on an interstate or something, I can read in a car, and the C-bands really help with that. So read this in Spain. So this is about a woman, Alice, and she gets a concussion, so she forgets like 10 years of her life. So she, in the beginning, you know, she's like newly married and she's pregnant, and she wakes up from her concussion. It's like 10 years later. She's forgotten 10 years of her life. She now has 3 kids. Her husband and her are going through a divorce, and she kind of has to rediscover like who she is and how she became so different from the person she was 10 years ago. So it's kind of a book about, you know, reevaluating your life and sort of seeing like, where do I want to go with my life? How did I get to where I am? So I found this really interesting. It was really great for like a vacation read. Yeah, and I really do love this author. So I have one more book by this author, and then I'll have read all of her current releases. So really love this author, and this was really enjoyable. And all the other books that I've read in the past 2 months have been audiobooks. I really want to get back into reading, so I guess these 2 books I finished in July. I didn't read anything in August. I'm not reading anything currently. Haven't read anything in September. I just don't even know. I just need to get back into reading. I don't know. But I have listened to some really great audiobooks. I have started, before I took public transportation to work, but now I'm starting to drive into work because I finally, after like 4+ years, I finally have a parking spot at work. So now I'm driving in. So to pass the time when I'm driving, I really do like listening to audiobooks. I think it's relaxing, and you know, a lot of times I'm like sitting in traffic, so I think having an audiobook just helps pass the time. Yeah. So what audiobooks I've listened to in the past 2 months, the first one was The Royal We by Heather Cox and Jessica Morgan. This book I really, really liked. So it's kind of a play off of Prince William and Kate Middleton's, their kind of courtship and marriage. It's kind of a fictionalized version of that. So if you like stuff about like royalty, or if you like British royalty or Prince William and Kate Middleton sort of stuff, you would definitely like this book. The authors are like the writers of one of my favorite blogs. It's called Go Fug Yourself. Fug is like an ugly, so it just like is a funny website about like celebrity fashion. They'll show like celebrities at different events and like critique their fashion. It's not all negative. They'll have like you know, we like this or we don't like this. I don't know. I just like the website. I think it's fun. But these authors, they've written a few books. I think they've written a few young adult books, and then this is their first like adult novel. But it follows, the main character is Bex, or Rebecca, who is the fictionalized version of Kate Middleton, and then there's Prince Nicholas, and they meet at Oxford, and kind of follows them just throughout their whole relationship, through meeting and their initial, like, they were friends, and then they started dating, and then just the pressures of dating someone who is going to be the future, like, king, and all the family expectations, and just the long road it took them to their eventual wedding. So I really like this. It was a really long audiobook, which I like. I think it was over maybe around like 16 hours, which for an audiobook, I think is good to have something long that you can just really get into. But this one was really good. The one thing with it being an audiobook, there are a lot of characters, and there were times when I wish I could have, like, if I had the book, I could flip back through and be like, okay, who was that character? Because there's a lot of, like, side characters. They're not really important to the, like, overall plot necessarily. Like, if you don't necessarily, like, remember who this person is, it's not going to be, like, horrible, but it was a really enjoyable book. I really liked that one. The next audiobook I listened to was Everything You Never Told Me. This was by Celeste Ng. And I will have everything listed down below if any of these sound interesting. But this one was about a Chinese-American family in Ohio in the 70s. And their daughter has gone missing. And they soon find out that she has died. So it's kind of a family grappling, I guess, I don't know, is that a word? With it, and it kind of goes into the parents' relationship and how they met. So the mother is white, and then the dad is Chinese, and set in the Midwest in like the 70s. There's lots of, you know, questions and struggles that the family goes through, and the parents like blaming themselves, and there's 2 siblings, so the older brother and a younger sister, and it just kind of really explores the dynamics of this family, and kind of it's not really a mystery, but kind of a mystery of what happened and how this girl died, and it was really interesting. Definitely not like a happy sort of novel. It's definitely more one that makes you kind of think. But I did really enjoy that. The next audiobook I listened to is titled Maybe in Another Life. It was by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This one was about a woman, and she has always moved around a lot. She never has really found a good relationship or a good solid career. She kind of doesn't really know what she's doing with her life. She's in her early, like, 30s, or maybe she's, like, late 20s, early 30s, and she's moving back to Los Angeles, and this is where she was originally from. So she's moving back, and she's going to live with her friend, and this is, like, where she went to high school and everything. So when she comes back, she's going to go to a party to, like, meet up with all her old high school friends, and her ex-boyfriend asks, you know, do you want to stay out later with me? So at this point in the book kind of, like, splits off, and it shows, like, what happens with her life if she said yes to this ex-boyfriend and what happens if she says no. So it has her life going off in two different trajectories, and it's just kind of, that's, like, the book, is that what would have happened, and the point is, like, with every choice, your life could turn out differently. I enjoyed it. It was a little bit, like, kind of formulaic, and one of those books that, like, oh, everything, like, it, you know, it starts off with some, like, young, or I guess young woman that everything's, like, not great in my life. By the end of the book, her, like, life is perfect type of books, which I don't necessarily think is, like, true to life. I like books that kind of are a little more messy, and, you know, by the end of the book, maybe they don't have everything figured out. But this one's sort of the, she has everything figured out by the end sort of book. So I liked it. It was enjoyable. Not my top favorite, but it was still, you know, enjoyable to listen to. And then currently, I'm about halfway through this audiobook, but I'm currently listening to The Help by Kathryn Stockett. And this is a re-listen. I listened to it a few years ago, but of course this was made into the movie. But I love this audiobook. It is, I've never read the book, but the audiobook, I'm looking for another audiobook to, like, measure up to this one. It has 3 different narrators, which is really, I like that. And they have, like, each chapter is, or every, like, 2 chapters, or every chapter, I mean, it's not always every 2 chapters, but the different chapters are the different narrators. And I just think it works really well. And I rewatched the movie yesterday, and it was really good. So I was about halfway through the book, but I'm like, I really want to rewatch the movie, so I rewatched it. But I love that audiobook. That one is really great. So if you haven't read The Help, I definitely recommend the audiobook if you've watched the movie. I know it came out a few years ago, but I think the audiobook is really, really great. Anyway, that is it. That's everything that I've read or listened to in the past 2 months. So, and then what I'm currently listening to. Hopefully I can get back into actually reading books. I don't know why I haven't. I have new books that I should read, and I don't know why, but I really am enjoying the audiobooks, so I don't feel like I'm completely not reading by just listening to audiobooks. But yeah, anyway, that's everything for the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.